2, 1.
Hello, welcome to the Creative Writing Life podcast. I'm Justin Sloan.
And I'm Paul Zeidman, and I'd like to introduce our special guest today from Pure Magic Pictures. Let's say hi to writer and director Stefanie Hubbard. Stefanie, thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Hello, welcome.
It is our pleasure to have you. And as regular listeners of the show know, we usually start talking about something we've read or watched, I guess, in the recent past. Justin, do you want to go first? I'll go first.
Sure. I've been reading some weird stuff lately.
Okay.
Meaning, so my wife, she's running a paranormal romance publishing group. So basically, she has like 6 authors or so underneath her, and they're publishing books and stuff. So I've been reading other books in those genres to like see what's out there and what they're competing with. And I've been reading The Never King, the Vicious Lost Boys series by Nikki St. Croix. And let's just say, don't listen to it out loud without headphones on. that's all I got to say on that. But I've been enjoying it. I think the story's fun. There's a lot of lore in there, like about Peter Pan and Neverland and all that, and like in a very dark, different way than we're used to. So if you're okay with very adult content and want a cool story, I think that's a good recommendation.
Yeah, it's just a side note. There seems there's always somebody who's doing some kind of variation on the Peter Pan story. I know
Always.
at least two, I know at least 2 writers who wrote scripts based on the original material, but one's a science fiction thing and the other one was, I think, like from a totally different perspective. So it's just interesting that once again someone goes to the Peter Pan well.
Oh my god.
And
there's like a billion out there. If you search on Amazon for like Peter Pan and Hook, yeah.
Of course. Let's see. We watched. My wife wanted to see this when it was in the theaters, but we didn't get it, so we got it on Netflix. Was John Hamm in Confess Fletch, which was kind of like the new take on the Fletch films for the Chevy Chase ones from the 80s. It was fun. It was a good mystery, and it's just weird because you're watching John Hamm as Fletch, but I couldn't help but keep going back to thinking about Chevy Chase in the role. But it was still a good movie and enjoyed it a lot. And also kind of almost continuing that video games into movies thing that I had from last time. I watched Uncharted, which is streaming on Netflix. And it's a fun popcorn adventure kind of movie. And, I saw it once. I don't think I ever need to see it again.
Well, on that vein, we saw Mario, and we saw it at the Universal movie theater over there in Universal whatever City Walk. And that was pretty fun because they have like the go-kart or the Mario Kart thing out front for the pictures, and then the big pipes you have to walk through to get into the theater, and like huge posters. So I think if you're going to see it, like that's the environment to see it in. And we had a good
so who I was going to say, who enjoyed it more, you or your kids?
Yeah, I mean the kids. I liked a lot of the references and stuff. Like everybody says, it's really well done. The story is kind of like it's fun, but it's nothing like mind-blowing. Like I think I enjoyed Sonic more in terms of like the story. But it was a lot of fun, and my kids were like, my little 5-year-old was like, she was just jumping up and down sometimes, like So that's what you want out of a movie.
I was gonna say, I think I know what film is going to be bought for the Sloan household in the near future.
Hopefully it'll just be streaming and we can just watch it over and over that way, like everything else we do.
There you go. Stefanie, what have you been reading and or watching?
Well, I love what Justin said about paranormal romance, right? Is that what the genre was? I have read and watched Twilight so many times, so as soon as you said that, I have to mention that. It's like some of my favorite stories of all time. I'm also reading through the Lunar Chronicles again right now by Marissa Meyer. And those, similar to what you're talking about, the first one is based on the Cinderella story, and the next one is based off the Little Red Riding Hood story, and then the next one is based off of the Rapunzel story, but they're all taking place in a sci-fi future with like cyborgs and spacecrafts and things. So it's a really fun spin on all of those. And I'm always rewatching. I recently rewatched Back to the Future, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, and Indiana Jones randomly. So I've been really loving the storytelling that's been happening, and consuming it is one of my favorite things to do.
Question on the Stefanie Meyer's books. Are they everybody appropriate, or are they adult only? I don't know.
I would say they're everybody appropriate. Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. All
right. Well, so Stefanie, so let's tell us a little bit about yourself. So you're a writer and you're a filmmaker. So what was your background? I mean, have you always done that, or did you start out writing and decide then kind of work your way into filmmaking? Like what's the Stefanie Hubbard story?
Yeah, so my background is being a co-owner of a video production company with my husband. The two of us have been filming and editing videos for clients for the last 10 years. And we've gotten pretty good at producing and been able to invest in some really nice camera equipment and practiced all aspects of post-production, including editing and audio and visual effects and just composing, and we've kind of learned how to do it all. And so we, on the more recently in 2019, we started making our own original movies and TV shows. So we took all that we've been learning and practicing and started applying it to our babies, you know, when it's your own and you're directing it and you're writing it and you get to put your heart and soul into it. And it's been really fun and authentic for us because we don't have a client or a producer to answer to other than ourselves. We're just making it really just us doing it. And so we've gotten to just be completely authentic to what it is, the story we wanted to tell, and doing it our way. And so we've made, we're on our third feature film, and we've made 3 TV shows, and we're writing them and directing them ourselves, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I watched some of the trailers for some of your films, and I think what's really impressive is that I'm assuming you're going with a very low budget or even maybe a micro budget approach to these, but they don't look it. That they look really professional and very just well put together. I mean, the Plunder Quest one, that was a great trailer. And it was a lot of fun to see, and I think, and the actors did a great job. And is there a trailer for? I mean, is there a trailer? Oh, there's a teaser trailer for Sky Hoshi.
That's right, yeah.
And that's your
Have
new.
you
And
seen that one?
I think I watched it when we first got in touch, so it's not as fresh in my mind as the Plunder Quest one. But I just remember that it was a really intriguing concept, and I just thought it looks like it was a lot of fun to put together.
Thank you. Yes, so you're right. We are micro budget, DIY, passionate creatives that are, you know, starving artists, right? Still doing our client work to help fund these projects and everything, but we love Hollywood blockbusters. So I think a lot of times when you think indie film, you might think of it more of the genre or tone of the indie film, but what we like to create, I think, is more in line with Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, The Goonies, you know, Star Wars, like the big Hollywood blockbusters from the 80s and 90s is what inspires us. And we're always so complimented, and it just like makes me so happy when I hear people say this feels more like a blockbuster, like Hollywood or big budget, than the budget that we had, because that's always what we're going for.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed, especially during the Plunder Quest trailer, that it looks very I don't want to say small. It looks very limited in the beginning because, you know, I know there's a scene in a library, and then all of a sudden there's a guy on a boat, and then there's like this castle and it was a castle on the beach. And when I watch a movie like that, of course I'm thinking about the story and the actors, but then I think about the production part. But I was thinking, like, how did they get that location, and like where is that? And so I just is that all part of your process? Do you put the story together and then try to find locations, or you see a location and say like, oh, that would be great in this thing we're working on right now?
For Plunder Quest, we did it backwards, and we got very lucky that Kalani wrote a script wanting a sailboat and a castle, and kind of put them in my lap as the producer of that film and said, can you get me a sailboat and a castle for very, very cheap? And the castle that we filmed at is Bannerman Castle, which is in the Hudson River, just an hour drive from here. And I went back and forth with them quite a bit, getting the permit for that and getting it affordable for us. And it was the most expensive location in the film, but it was still very affordable, you know, for what we were doing. It was very reasonably priced. And the sailboat was kind of like Airbnb, but for sailboats. So we just rented it for like one day, and we jumped on and we got as many shots as humanly possible and left, you know.
That's great.
So yeah, but we have learned since Plunder Quest, for Lily Darling, the movie I wrote and directed, and Sky Hoshi Anime Girl, the movie that's about to come out that Kalani wrote and directed, my husband, to look at the resources that we have access to for free or cheap that we already know of, and then write the script based off of those restrictions so that we know we can do it in a really affordable way. And I would say that restrictions in script writing actually breeds creativity. It forces, sometimes I come up with more creative solutions than I maybe would have if I had access to a bigger budget or all the locations that I could ever dream of.
Yeah, that's that is something I wanted to ask you. Like, what's the creative process for putting your stories together? I mean, a lot of times the writer will just like, okay, this is what I want this story to be. But if you're the actual filmmaker and the producer, you're going to have to take that. Okay, what's going to cost me the least amount of money to do this? And I love the fact that you kind of did it backwards, almost like reverse engineering the story. Like, okay, we've got these locations. Let's put. How can we factor these into the story? Is that how you did it just for that one, or do you kind of do that for all of your projects?
We do it for all of our projects now. It's very much, we have a very limited crew. So we even thinking about the size of our crew, for example, Skyhoshi Anime Girl, we didn't really have a real audio engineer on set for the production of that film. So even when Kalani was writing it, he was thinking, how do we can't have too many actors on camera at once because we don't have enough mics for that many people. So we only have 2 or 3 actors on camera at once. We don't have a lot of walk and talks. So we didn't have a boom operator. So a lot of the way it was written was like, let's write it so we can do it with a minimal crew, with only a couple of different locations. Like, how many days are we going to film this in? And we take all of that into consideration when we write our scripts. So it's a very different script writing process than it would be if I was writing a book. Because if I was writing a book, I wouldn't have to think about any of these things, right?
Sure. So,
Yeah.
one more question from me, then I'll toss it over to Justin. So actually that raises a great question. Like, what is your, like, the turnaround time from starting a project to, I guess, finishing the script? And then for all of your various filming, has there been like an average length of shooting time, or is it just like it just takes as long as it takes?
We do have an average length of shooting time. We're not allowed for it to take as long as it takes because of budgetary reasons. And
Sure.
also we have our streaming platform, puremagicpictures.com, and we need to put things up there to keep our subscribers subscribed. So we do have to follow pretty intense turnaround times. And Skyhoshi Anime Girl was actually an extreme. That script was only written in 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
I had finished casting for that film and people knew that they were in it before we had even sent them the entire script to read, because we were still working on it. And we were actually able to film at Anime NYC for that movie. It's like Comic-Con, but it's AnimeCon in New York. And we were able to film there, but the dates for the convention were set, and we actually filmed the scenes at the convention before the script was completed for that movie. We just knew what we needed at the convention, filmed it, and then finished the script while explaining to the actors that we don't have the script ready for them yet. So that was a very tight deadline there. We filmed the whole movie in, I believe, 9 days total in December. Wow. And now we're in April and the movie's coming out. So 4 months of post-production on that.
That is awesome. That is great. That's so inspirational for other filmmakers or writer filmmakers.
Thanks. Yeah, we just got to get it done. Nothing like a deadline, right? Yeah.
So you and your husband are working on this together?
We are. He's the writer and director, and I'm the producer.
Oh, okay.
Of Skyhoshi Anime Girl. Yeah.
But sometimes you're also the writer, like such as Lily Darling, and so you guys switch it up a little bit, or how does that tend to work?
Yeah, so our last film, Lily Darling, I was the writer and director, and he was the producer. So we kind of tend to flop back and forth. One of us will be the writer and director, and the other one will be the producer, which is great because we balance each other out. Usually the writer and director is the one who kind of has those creative blinders on, and they're very ambitious and they're very passionate and they want to get it done, and they're just like running 1,000 miles an hour, and they're like, we need to add this and that. And then the producer is there to say, it's not 100% necessary that this is included in this movie. So it's a really great team effort when we're able to divide the task in that way.
Nice. Yeah. So I was going to ask, do you guys find there's often then crossover where you're really kind of just doing all of it on everything you're doing, or do you really delineate those, make that line in the sand there?
There is crossover quite a bit because I'll ask him for advice on my script and he'll give me notes or feedback and help me develop the characters, or I'll be on, like, he's a more experienced director than me. So when I'm the one directing on set, there might be times where I pull him aside and we whisper in each other's ears and try, like, what do you think I should do? So that's nice to have. But the reason why we delineate it is because ultimately at the end of the day, if there is ever a creative, like, different thoughts around the creative, the director is the final say and authority for that film, which is nice.
That's very smart. Do you feel like either of you would still be doing it if the other wasn't involved? Like, I think this is a lot of fun and I want to do it, like, man, it'd be great to have a situation like you have where there's somebody else kind of there helping out and giving some inspiration along the way and doing their part. Do you feel like you'd still be doing it if he wasn't there, or vice versa, if he would still be?
I don't know. That's a really tough one. We talk about this a lot, how thankful we are that, making a movie in 9 days feels almost like going through this crazy wild experience together. And it's a very like a bonding experience. It's almost like war buddies, where it's like we were in the trenches together and this person didn't show up last minute and this crazy thing happened. And we went through all these experiences together that I'm just so thankful we do make things together. It's never the same getting home at the end of the day and trying to explain, what happened. So it's nice to have that support system built right in.
How has that been? Like, do you have some war stories? Do you feel like, is it always like a 24-hour day? What are some good takeaways for the people who are listening who are like, I want to go make a film in 9 days. What is that going to take? How much of my soul is that going to rip out?
Yes. Yeah. You have to put your entire heart and soul into it. It will consume you. It will take you over completely. And you have to love that. You just have to love it. You have to want that for sure. I can tell some war stories. We have had the morning of, with the entire crew and cast gathered around our studio, me having this weird gut feeling I should check my email to discover that the lead actor just quit and just bailed on that entire project. Like not even a phone call or a text, like these kinds of things happen. And you all just kind of sit in it like, can we go home? Can this just be the end of how this day goes? Can we try again tomorrow? But you can't. You have to figure out what do we do. So yeah, we've definitely have a lot of war stories.
But what happened with the actor who quit at the last second? How did you recover from that?
We got really clever and we went and filmed everything that we could possibly film that day without that actor there, because we can't lose a day. I mean, we have crew that they're there and we're not going to just send them home too. So we just filmed everything that we could. Luckily, there was some green screen work that was going to be involved. So we filmed a lot of plates for the green screen that day. And then we had a gap between when we were going to film again that we spent doing a very rush job casting a lead in a movie. And that was basically like, hey, do you want to be a lead in this feature film? Yeah, cool. Great. We're filming in 4 days. There are 3 days. Like, awesome. Wow. It's like that call. And you just have to find an actor who's ready to jump in. Luckily we have. So we're very thankful for that.
Really cool. Let's talk about Pure Magic Pictures a little bit. So like the idea of starting your own streaming thing with a subscription of $9.99 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And it's all your own content. You're not bringing other people's content on there, correct?
It's 100% written and directed by Pure Magic Pictures. We just started a new series called Indie Spotlight, where we are hand selecting some of our most favorite short films at all time that we think are just worthy of recognition of being an awesome short film. Right. And we do an episode in the Indie Spotlight series where Kalani and I introduce the short film. And then there's an exclusive interview with the director of that short film talking about their experience, like a little making of at the end that's just for our platform. So we just launched that. There's only 2 episodes on there so far, but the episodes are incredible and I highly recommend it. Other than Indie Spotlight, everything on there is completely written, directed, and produced by Pure Magic Pictures.
Pretty cool. And everything you guys do is going to go on here. Yes?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. Everything we do is going on there.
Intimidating, this idea of like, oh, we're going to start a little streaming platform with subscription? Was that just like, we're going to do it and you did it? Or were there some hurdles along the way for that as well?
Yeah, it was intimidating. Definitely. I think we were just really excited to do it. We wanted to build our own fan base and bring people to where we are. And, without getting too much into the weeds of what people don't care about, when you make a movie available to rent or buy on Amazon, Amazon takes 50%. When you make a movie available to rent or buy on Apple TV, it ends up being 50% because Apple TV takes 30% and the aggregator takes another 20%. So you really only get 50%. And I was like, the only way people are going to go find out about our movies is from our marketing and advertising and telling people about it. Amazon and Apple don't market them. And so why don't we just make them available on our own website and then not share 50% with Amazon or Apple, who quite frankly, I don't think need an additional 50% of our sales. So we were like, let's just do it. We want to be self-sustaining. We want to be, direct directly from us to you. And we don't want to wait for permission from anybody to do anything or make anything. And also we like building a community too, where people find out about us and they join our Discord and they reach out to us on Instagram, and we love meeting other filmmakers, and we're really approachable. So I think that's a lot of fun. It's a lot easier to discover the whole of Pure Magic Pictures when it's our own website and our own Instagram and Discord than it would be if you found our movie or show on Amazon or Apple TV. You wouldn't know to like come discover the rest of who we are and what we do, you know?
For sure. Yeah, so in the self-publishing world, we deal with that a lot. The idea of if you go on Amazon and these places, of course, you're going to get less money. Although for indie publishing, it's not so bad. We get 70%, which is not horrible. But still, yeah, the big, you can get 90% on places like Kickstarter or whatnot, or you can get like 99% if you do it on your own, or 100% or whatever. So it's definitely, but then the big issue there is the algorithm and discoverability. So how are you tackling that? Is it really just you're doing your marketing, you're getting word of mouth, you're building up your Discord and your community, or what other ways are you taking to try to account for that?
That's basically it. It's just word of mouth. People who find out about us tend to really love us. We're just unfortunately one of the best kept secrets around here. So we just got to get the word out, of who we are and what we're making. And I'd rather grow slowly but surely and have people find out about us than go down some of the other avenues that we've considered. So yes.
Yeah. A lot of times some of us will do like the wide thing, or you'll do like a hybrid model where it's traditional versus and self-publishing. But in your case, that would be silly because your whole idea is to get everything on that platform so that people who are subscribing get access. So it's really cool. I'll toss it back to Paul and then come back.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to ask, so I love the idea of this indie spotlight. So what if there is like a filmmaker out there who says, hey, I would love for you to show my short, and like, do they just get in touch with you through the Discord or through the website? I mean, is that something you're open to, or is it because you're talking about like short films that you've like, it sounded like from like the history of film. So, but if there's someone that says, hey, I would love to have you show my short, or just talk about my short, or I can come on and talk about my short, is that something you're open to, or are you kind of like slowly working your way through a list?
We're definitely open to being approached by anybody who wants to talk about anything. Come say hi. Let's be friends. Let's talk about each other's things. We would love to consider your short film for Indie Spotlight episode. We're totally down. We're at Pure Magic Pictures on Instagram. We have our Discord. Our email is right on our website, and I will read it. So we'd love to hear from you.
That's great. That's great. And so I was going to say, going back to the production aspect of all of your films, because you're in New York, I guess you have such a great resource and a great talent pool of not just of actors, but also of all the people behind the scenes. So do you have like the same crew for all of your project, and maybe like a lot of the same actors, or is it different every time?
Both. We love working with the same people again, but sometimes they've moved on, or they're busy, or the schedules don't line up. So we do work with a lot of the same crew, and we work with a lot of the same actors, but we're always finding new crew members. And we also do a lot of kind of like training, if you will, people who are really new to the industry and they haven't had a lot of on-set experience, or they really want to learn how to do a certain role on set. Like they really want to learn how to full focus, or they really want to learn how to run audio or something. We're down to come and teach and have a really like collaborative environment, because we just want to support people who love filmmaking as much as we do,
That is great. So is it something like you're all like another aspect of Pure Magic Pictures, that you're kind of like almost like a training ground for people trying to break in? Is that like one of the things you advertise, or is it more just about, okay, here are the things that we make, but if you want to learn about it, come on down?
No, but we should. You got my wheels cranking. Maybe we should start a school, the Pure Magic Pictures School for independent filmmakers or something like that, because it just tends to be, it kind of happened accidental. It's just this theme that just kept happening. People wanted to learn, and we were happy to teach it, and it just is happened naturally. So I'm like, well, maybe I should turn it into something a little more formal.
That's great. And so I also wanted to ask you, so what's next? Because you've got your feature coming out. It sounds like in a couple of weeks almost. So what's after that? I mean, I assume you've got other projects in various stages of development. I mean, like what's your next project, if you're at liberty to talk about it?
Sure. Yes, that's right. Sky Hoshi Anime Girl is coming out in just a few weeks. It also comes with a manga, and the manga is the prequel to the movie. So it's a completely new story about Sky Hoshi back in her original anime world before she fell out of her poster. We're also working on a series called Dino Guru, and that comes with a trading card game. There's a card game called Dino Guru and a TV show called Dino Guru that go together. We're working on that. We've actually completely finished developing the card game. We just need to start manufacturing them, and then we've already written the script, so we need to start filming. So we're really excited for that. And a new adventure movie by Stefanie Hubbard called The Squatchers, about a group of friends who go upstate looking for Bigfoot, is in the works too. And I have more movies I'm thinking about that have to do with like a psychological thriller. I like emo things and music and punk rock and all of that, so I'm always thinking about what's the next, because Lily Darling was about punk rock romance, so my next thing will be probably a similar type movie, but a psychological thriller version.
Okay, so actually, so kind of going back to what you were referring to earlier, just because you're talking about Kalani's next project, the horror. So, it goes upstate. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, limited cast, maybe a couple of locations, and it already sounds like you're up in the woods. You got a cabin and and an isolated location. So it just sounds like, again, writing to budget, which that's a great way to approach it.
Yeah, all we need is to be able to afford an Airbnb in the woods for a few days and we're good to go. And we had somebody make a custom Bigfoot mask for us because I priced out Bigfoot costumes and they were outrageously expensive, you would not believe. But a local makeup artist actually designed a mask to fit our actors' head perfectly, and it's really an amazing Bigfoot mask too. So we're excited for it.
That sounds great. It's just so, I guess, inspiring for writers and filmmakers to hear that yes, it is possible to get it done. But again, it sounds like you're taking a very tactical approach to it. You're not just jumping in and say, hey, well, just see what happens. It's kind of like, okay, this is how much we've got to work with, and these are the locations and the number of characters we have to work with. We have no choice, and that you're kind of I love that whole reverse engineering aspect of it. It's just so practical. And also what's great is that you're seeing these great results that are coming from it. But I also love that this whole, this thing happened we were not expecting, and this is how we compensated for it. I mean, that's just part of making films as well.
It makes me feel better when I watch behind the scenes for really big budget movies, because I hear stories from the greats in Hollywood with their really big budget films of the troubleshooting and the fires that they have to put out and the disasters that happen to them. And, big, I recently heard a story about a really big TV show where the actor had to quit a few days before filming, and they pulled in 2 actors, auditioned them both, picked one, and she went to set. Like these things happen. And so I think if I were to fantasize or dream like one day when I have a big budget, all these problems are going to go away, it's just not true. The problems they don't go away. And I know too many filmmakers who wait for that day that their ticket gets called, or that their investor comes through, or that this miraculous thing happens and they have their big break. And sometimes it just isn't going to happen. And I think to say, I'm not waiting for somebody to call my name, I'm just going to go out and do my thing, I think is a really empowering idea.
That's great. That's great. So apart from the streaming, have you shown any of your works at film festivals?
We have, yes. Plunderquest and Lily Darling both went to some film festivals and did really, really well. Plunderquest won Best Director and Best Actor. Lily Darling won Best Romance and Best Feature. So they've been really well received in the film festival circuit too.
That's awesome. Justin, toss it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good time to give us a little more sales points on the movies themselves. Like if you want to tell us a couple more points about this, I think that the anime, the Sky Hoshi, is that it? That one sounds really awesome. Do you want to tell us just a little more about the plot? Like somebody's like, ooh, what is that? And of course we'll include the links and everything, but the quick version.
Yeah. So Sky Hoshi Anime Girl is about an anime character named Sky Hoshi who falls out of her poster and becomes real. And her and Adam have to figure out how to get her back home before time runs out. So it's a really fun movie. And a lot of people who are really into anime are very excited for it. It's got all kinds of anime tropes and like inspiration from anime. We watched a lot of anime shows in order to prepare for it, and plus we just love anime anyway. Anime is really, really good. Talking about good script writing and good storytelling. There's some really great anime out there. But I will say that even if you haven't seen any anime and it's not necessarily something you're a huge fan of, this movie is very like approachable. What is the word I'm looking for? You can enjoy Skyhoshi Anime Girl if you're not a big fan of anime still. So that's good.
Awesome.
And yeah, sorry, what was
what about
your
the
question?
Lily, Lily Darling? What's that one? What's that? Pitch of that one.
Yeah, so Lily Darling is the movie that I wrote and directed. It takes place in 2006, back when I was a teenager, and it's about punk rock loving emo kids falling in love, TPing houses, having shenanigans. You know, it's just very classic, and it's something I love about that movie is the music. We got a song from Mayday Parade and the Early November and Motion City soundtrack in the film, and we also reached out to a lot of independent punk rock bands and put their music in the film as well. And then my husband composed that too. Oh, wow. And we released a soundtrack with it that he and I sing on. So it's just a really fun, if you love punk rock, if you love early 2000s, if you love, you know, emo or punk culture, it's like a really fun movie that a lot of people have really enjoyed. So that's Lily Darling, a punk rock romance. And then the movie we released before that one that Paul was referencing earlier is Plunder Quest, The Adventure of Thomas Waters. Thomas Waters gets wind of Prohibition era whiskey in New York and goes on an adventure to try to find it. I don't know if you know, but if you were to find very real Prohibition era whiskey, which is still around in different pockets and different cellars around New York City, it would sell for a lot of money. So it's basically, you know, has kind of like the Goonies vibe, going on an adventure looking for the treasure. And it's a really fun film.
Awesome. There we go. I think that's good. And you already asked about where they can find you and contact information and all that, Paul?
Because I know it's puremagicpictures.com, because that's the website. And you also have social media presence. You mentioned Instagram, and I'm going to go with it's Pure Magic Pictures.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. And what about Twitter? Are you on that one?
We're not really on Twitter. We are on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. It's all Pure Magic Pictures, and Discord, Pure Magic Pictures, and our website is Pure Magic Pictures. So remember, Pure Magic Pictures. And the reason we named that is because the feeling that you get when you watch a perfect movie and it just brings you into this world and you just are totally just mesmerized by it. It's just the feeling of pure magic, you know? And I just feel like, and then, so that's one of the reasons. But the other reason is a lot of things that we do on the computers and filming tricks, and this location turns into that location. All this is a lot of magic tricks that go into making movies. So it's pure magic for a lot of reasons.
Awesome. Really cool. I think it's great. I look forward to watching some of these movies as they come out, and especially the Sky one. I'm a huge anime fan myself.
You are?
Of course. I'm
Which
not as big as some
animes
people
do you
I know.
like?
That's a good question. I've been watching like more of the weird ones, but I've been reading a lot of the like My Hero Academia and a lot of the what do they call it, the webtoons,
Nice.
which Unordinary. I don't know if you've read that one or not, but my son and I have been both going through that together, and it's been a lot of fun. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we just unsubscribed to Netflix and subscribed to Crunchyroll instead, and now we've just been watching a bunch of anime on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, I lived in Japan for a while, so that was like one of the good ways to study the language, right? I was never as big of an anime fan / nerd, whatever you want to call it, as my friends. I aspired to be, but as hard as I would try, I could just never get as. There's just so many episodes of like One Piece and whatnot, right? If you try to catch up with that, you're going to be gone for a few years. So,
that's impossible. I would recommend Spy Family. There's 2 seasons and it's a really great story.
Awesome. I'll try that one. I have not checked out that one. So.
Nice.
Great. Any last bits of advice for aspiring filmmakers, especially on the micro and small budgets level?
Yeah, I would say my number one piece of advice, if you're very serious about actually going out and making a movie, is go on YouTube and search Robert Rodriguez 10-Minute Film School. It's from the 80s. It'll change your life. Do what he says in that, and go make a movie.
Awesome. There we go. Cool. Well, thank you again so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a really fun conversation.
Good. Yes, it was great stuff. And again, very inspirational for, all those DIY filmmakers out there.
Awesome. All right. So listeners, thank you so much. Check out everything we're going to provide in the links, and please share word of mouth and click subscribe to the show if you haven't yet. Leave a review. Once again, the Creative Writing Life podcast. I'm Justin Sloan. You can find my books on Amazon. And since I mentioned my wife's, I'll throw hers out there too. And Kay Whalen, some good P&R for you.
There you go. And I'm Paul Zeidman. You can check out my screenwriting blog, MaximumZ.blog. I'm on Twitter at Maximum_Z. I've got my screenwriting books on Amazon as well. The Go Ahead and Ask series. Please go buy them. I have a child in college. As he said, he's Justin. That's Stefanie. I'm Paul. This has been the Creative Writing Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy, and most importantly, go write something.